Hey everyone, we all like looking at our CPU temperatures and feeling smug about our cooling setup, but I was recently asked whether the CPU temperature reading can actually be wrong. Like, can you actually rely on it 100% when you're looking at, the AMD software or HW info or something like that? And the short answer is, in general, it is accurate and you should be able to rely on it for physical reasons that I'll explain later. But in one or two cases, bugs can creep in and things like that. So I just wanted to talk about that in this video. So the first thing to know is that a lot of modern software will be continuously updated, and in general, that's a good thing. So the AMD software, where you can look at your CPU temps or HW info or HW monitor, they are all constantly updated. And in some cases, you could end up with some sort of bug in that software that does show you some wacky readings. And on Reddit, there's often memes of people actually posting that, HW info said that their CPU was hotter than the surface of the sun, which clearly isn't correct. So in some cases, you could have bugs that could then give you a wrong temperature reading when you're looking at your CPU temps. So if your computer is running really, really hot and you can feel loads of warm air coming out of it, and then HW info is saying that everything's running at like 20 degrees Celsius, then yeah, there might be a bug or something like that. The second thing to know is that if you're using your motherboard's own built-in software to actually look at the CPU temperature readings, that can often be buggy. I mean, it shouldn't be buggy because it's reading sensors that are based physically on the CPU. But often, the actual motherboard software, in my experience, is less stable and less up to date than things like HW info and the AMD software, and also the Intel utilities as well for Intel CPUs. However, I should also point out that if you're watching this video, it might be because you've looked at HW info or the AMD software and you've seen that the temperature reading is bouncing around quite a lot. And you might be thinking your CPU is broken, or at least the software is broken. But often that's not the case. CPUs will vary. Basically, the amount of power that goes into them and the speed that they run at will vary all the time. That's part of how modern CPUs work. And so if you're seeing your CPU temperatures jump around quite a lot, that can be perfectly normal. It might be that you've just opened, a browser, and that will actually cause your CPU temperatures to spike quite a lot, in fact. Or it might be that in the background there's a new process that's kicked off, maybe Windows update or an antivirus scan or just a random update or something like that. Any of those things can actually cause your CPU temperatures to spike, so don't worry about that if that's what you're seeing. The next thing to know is that there are actually various CPU temperatures. It's not just one figure. Like if you look at HW info and you scroll down, you'll see this as TDI and CPU die average and CCD1 and CCD2 and things like that, depending on your CPU. And they're all these different figures, and that is because the CPU has sensors throughout it in different points. But if you're using a software like AMD software, it's only going to show you one of those figures, I think often is the CPU die average. So that is something to be aware of. But if after, all of this, if you're actually looking at your CPU temps and it's constantly like 80, 90 degrees Celsius at idle, that probably is a sign that there's something physically wrong. And the most common issues are either that you haven't removed the plastic sticker on the back of the CPU cooler. That can cause massive issues with thermals if you haven't removed that. Or you might find that your thermal paste has not been applied properly, or that the cooler isn't physically mounted hard enough. Maybe needs to be screwed in more or just taken off and remounted. So hopefully that all makes sense. But if you've got any questions, please drop me a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up button and please subscribe to see more short videos like this. Thanks for watching.